If you've watched my channel before, you probably think I only fish with rooster tails and Rapala floating minnows. And I know I have my biases.
But, and this is a big but,
I actually did try a bunch of different lures last year that you didn't even see, because they caught me absolutely nothing. Should you stay away from them, or are any of them still worth buying? Find out today as I cover the biggest loser lures of 2025. With these first three lures, I've caught something off them in the past, just nothing last year. Starting off, we got the Strike King Bitsy Minnow. This was actually one of my first lures getting back into fishing in 2024, and it's caught me a decent number of fish. I didn't use it much last year, and it's because of one critical design flaw. These treble hooks are way too close to each other. If you look at this lure the wrong way, those treble hooks get caught up in each other and it is a real pain. And that's actually why I removed the front treble hook on mine. Still, if you can get past that, this lure has good potential. Up next is the Strike King Mini King Spinnerbait. I promise I don't have anything against Strike King. In fact, where I live, this is the only safety pin style spinnerbait you can buy in a 1/8 ounce size. I know I caught at least one or two really nice bass off this lure, but it hasn't worked in the places that I fish the most. In fact, the only times I did catch fish with this lure were spots that I had only ever fished once. So there are probably special conditions for using this lure that I just haven't figured out yet. On to the next lure, it's the Arbogast Hula Popper. This is a high-action popper lure that has a large cupped mouth and a hula skirt to imitate a frog. It's one of my favorite topwater lures, and the only reason I didn't catch anything off of it this year is because I just didn't fish it enough. I don't topwater fish a ton in general since I don't usually have the best luck with it. That said, it is really fun when you land a fish off this lure, trust me. And I'll definitely be using this lure more in 2026. Alright, the next lure we got is a— hold up! That's a Rapala floating minnow! You catch fish with it all the time! It sure looks like one, but this is actually a Rapala CountDown. It's a minnow lure that's designed to sink at 1 foot per second and remain at whatever depth you start reeling it in at. Now, I didn't catch anything off this lure for two main reasons. First, it's an $8 lure. I was hesitant to fish with it in the rocky streams that I usually fish in fear that I'd get it snagged. Looking back now, that seems kinda ridiculous, since it's just collecting dust in my tackle box now, so I'll probably get over that this year. Second, I'm lazy, and I almost always use a snap swivel when I'm fishing to switch out lures quickly. For some reason, the front treble hook on the CountDown kept getting caught on that top loop of the swivel. This wasn't just every now and then either, it was basically every other cast. Maybe there's a way around it? I don't know, but one thing's for sure. I'll definitely have to try this lure without a swivel to give it a fair chance. This next lure is actually a soft plastic, the Yum Curly Tail Grub. I tried this lure with both 1/16 ounce and 1/8 ounce size jig heads. I had really high hopes for this lure, and I actually got really close to catching something with it too. The first time I tried it, I cast it out a few times for probably around 15-20 minutes until I got a few bites. Eventually I hooked into something what I think was a bluegill, and unfortunately, it threw the hook on me. It was probably on me, but losing that fish put a sour taste in my mouth because I haven't used it much since then. I might even try using a different jig head on them to see if that makes a difference. I'm sure these things catch fish, but I just gotta work with them a little bit more. In a similar vein, I didn't have any luck with the Berkley Powerbait swim shads either. These are tiny 1/8 ounce paddle tail swim baits. I actually got a good number of bites off this lure, but I couldn't set the hook on a single one of them. It could be because I was using my ultralight rod, which bends a bit more, so maybe I'll try it with my medium rod sometime. It also takes a long time for the lure to sink into the water, so I think I should also try the slightly larger 1/4 ounce instead, just to have something that sinks faster. One more thing, you see that little tube covering the barb of each hook? Yeah, those things are a pain to get off. The last soft plastic we have here is the Bass Pro Shop's Crawdigy Craw. It's a crayfish imitation bait that I really only bought because I thought the name was funny. Hey, sorry, I gotta pause this video for a sec. This is kinda awkward, but I just finished this video and I realized that the lure is actually pronounced Crawdigy Craw, like a pun on Prodigy. So I guess that means I only bought this thing because I mispronounced it and thought that my own mispronunciation was funny. I Texas rigged it with a 4/0 extra wide gap hook as recommended on the package and got zero action with it. Now, I've never tried to imitate a crayfish before, so it might just be a skill issue. It's also a bit larger and heavier than the lures I'm used to throwing, so I don't have as much confidence with it either. That definitely contributed to me not using it as much. I might try it again if the opportunity presents itself, but I also wouldn't mind trying a smaller size crayfish imitation. Bass Pro actually sells a smaller Crawdigy Craw Jr that might be worth trying out this year. The second to last lure here is the Z-Man Chatterbait. Now, I was really rooting for this lure. I used it more than any other lure on this list, but I could not get a bite off of it for the life of me. It's worth noting that I was only using the 1/8 ounce size one, so I think that technically makes it a Chatterbait micro. I didn't notice that back and forth wobble action that Chatterbaits are supposed to have when you reel them in. Maybe it has to do with the size? I also didn't dress the lure with any kind of soft plastic, so that might have contributed to the poor action as well. I really want to catch something with a Chatterbait this year, so whether I need to get a larger size, dress it up, or just learn how to actually fish it, I'm determined to catch something with a Chatterbait this year. Now last, and certainly least, is the biggest disappointment for me, the BOOYAH Pad Crasher Jr. I think my problem isn't with this lure specifically, but topwater frogs in general. Of all the lures I mentioned, this is the only one that got me really frustrated fishing it. I was throwing this thing in a frog's paradise. Shallow water, lily pads everywhere, heck, I could even hear the frogs nearby. But despite my efforts, the bass didn't care. This lure does have one good use, however. I snagged a Rapala floating minnow in a tree, and when I snapped the line, it broke free and fell into the water. It was just out of reach. But by repeatedly casting and retrieving my topwater frog, I was able to slowly pull it back and recover the lure.
Well, hey, you know what? I finally found a use for the topwater frog. Lure recovery.
So now it's time for the reason you probably clicked on this video. Are any of these lures actually worth buying? In my opinion, the lures with the most potential here are the Mini King, CountDown, Yum Grubs, and the Chatterbait. I'd like to try them all again at some point this year and hopefully catch some fish with them too. The only two lures that really felt like a waste of time and money for me were the Pad Crasher Jr. and Crawdigy Craw. Honestly, I think topwater frogs are overrated. They look really cool when you see a close topwater bite on YouTube, but it just doesn't happen often enough to justify using one regularly. As for the Craw, I was hoping to build some confidence in a larger soft plastic that wasn't a Senko for once, and catching nothing with it just did the opposite, and now I feel like I'm even more biased towards using Senkos. I will say with both of these cases, it doesn't feel like my problems are brand specific. I probably would have run into the same issues if I used a different branded topwater frog or crayfish imitation. And it's not to say that the other lures aren't worthwhile either, but remember to use your own discretion. Can you deal with the hooks that are caught up on a Bitsy Minnow? Do you topwater fish enough to justify spending $8 to $10 on a Hula popper or a Pad Crasher Jr.? If you don't know how to answer those, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world if you end up buying a lure that doesn't work out for you. In fact, trying lures outside your comfort zone is an important part of growing and becoming a better angler, and it's something that I personally want to focus on more this year. Have you had success with any of the lures in this video? Are there any lures you'd like to see me try fish with this year? Let me know down in the comments. Big thanks to all my channel members, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe, and check out my other videos too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.